Hi everyone, Dave Pardue for Imaging Resource here today to talk to you about the new Olympus TG-6. So of course the TG-6 is the successor to the super popular TG-5, which was released back in May of 2017. That camera really set a new bar for the rugged line in many ways, and of course we gave it high marks at Imaging Resource and a well-deserved award as well. Okay, so our sample, of course, has the classic red styling from the Olympus Tough line that's been around for a few versions now. But the TG-6 also comes in a sleek black version as well. Now, of course, red will likely be the preferable color for divers, especially if you're prone to dropping the camera, because remember that these are waterproof, but they will still sink. Let's take a look now at some of the external features from the TG-6. We'll start with my favorite feature, which debuted on the TG-5, and that is the dedicated control dial. This was a first for a tough camera and is a neat addition for you enthusiast shooters out there who like a simple control dial for common adjustments, depending on the mode you're in. For example, here we are in aperture priority mode, and this allows us to simply control your aperture. But of course, depending on your mode, you can have the control dial control a number of things, and some of it is customizable. So that is a really neat feature there. Of course, we have the usuals like your zoom toggle. Of course, you've got your shutter button, your on-off switch, and over here we can move to setting up our log features. And this allows you to record a variety of really cool data from their field sensor system, which includes GPS, external temperature, altitude, air pressure, and even underwater depth. So a very handy feature to have once engaged when you want to keep track of where you are during your shooting adventures. Okay, moving on to the front of the TG-6, we see, of course, the bright f2.0 lens and then the traditional exterior lens ring. This lens has an optical zoom range of a 35mm equivalent 25 to 100 millimeters, which of course is 4x. There's also a new anti-reflective coating designed to reduce ghosting and lens flare. With the TG-5, Olympus made this a locking ring, which was a nice touch, and now they're offering a new add-on ring as well that also doubles as a cover. So a pretty neat thing there. So let's pop that cover on, and as you can see, this gives you instant protection when you're out in the field. So that's really cool. And of course, there's an onboard flash, and you can also control other flash units remotely via RC functionality. And you can see more about that in our TG-5 field test content as well. Okay, so moving to the rear, we have our LCD screen, of course. It's not a flip screen, and this was likely a conscious move by Olympus to keep the camera as sealed as possible, as it is rated without an external housing to a depth of 15 meters or 50 feet for us in the United States. If you just have to have a flip screen for selfies or other reasons, you can purchase the capable TG-870. Then, of course, we have the mode dial. Olympus was the first to put a mode dial on a tough camera many years ago, and it's a very welcome feature by enthusiasts. This one is nice and stiff, so you're not likely to bump it in a bag or while traveling. Of course, your record button's here. It's nice and inset, so you're not likely to bump it. Of course, your info button allows you to cycle through various states of view. Your playback, of course. Four-way dial, which allows access to common functionality, a menu button, and then of course the OK button in the center allows access to many of the most common control functions. So very handy and fairly straightforward. So then of course we have the battery and the SD card. And then, as you can see, it's always a two-step process to lock it down, which is good. Of course, we have our ports here. Again, a two-step process allows access to the ports. So that's a look at the outside of the new TG-6. Now let's take a look inside. Of course, it's 12 megapixels, and they went back to 12, down to 12 in the TG-5, which was a risky move, really, because, more sells to the typical consumer. But we applauded the move here at Imaging Resource and still do. We're glad they've kept it at 12 megapixels because that's really better for this sensor size, and the sensor size needs to stay small to allow the camera to stay small. Of course, it's got the TruePic 8 processor, which allows Pro Capture. It's the same processor as found in the new EM1X, actually. Show you a couple of Pro Capture examples here. This was with the TG-5, of course, but we'll be obviously trying it out with this camera as soon as we have the chance. Pro Capture allows you to simply half press and watch the action without filling up your card. And then when you see something that you like, simply press the shutter all the way and it'll capture the last few seconds of the buffer. So it's a really cool way to not miss a shot, but also not gobble up all of your memory card space in the process. Of course, the TG-5 was the first in the line to have RAW recording capabilities, which is obviously a really cool thing for enthusiast photographers as well. Okay, so of course, turning the mode dial to the microscope icon allows access to a wealth of different possibilities. You have microscope mode, focus stacking, which we'll talk about in a minute, focus bracketing, and microscope control. Microscope control is really interesting because that allows you to go to 44.4 times magnification, which is a really cool feature and something we'll look forward to checking out for you very soon. So, of course, focus stacking is something that we've used before in the TG-5, and I'll show you a quick example here. As you can see, it's a very capable mode, and these were actually shot handheld. You can get really good results, actually, with focus stacking. So let's go ahead and move to video mode. Of course, the camera can shoot 4K, which is really cool. But my favorite video functionality is actually 120 frames per second slow motion mode. I'm going to show you some examples that I shot with the TG-5. We found the footage to just be really, really good for this class of camera, and you can actually see if you go to the TG-5 video page, you can see numerous examples of footage from the camera, but especially shot with 120p. Again, that's shooting in 1080 full HD. 120p is not available with 4K, but again, that's okay because you still get full HD, which is really cool. So, of course, a lot of these clips were shot with the FCON 1 19mm equivalent wide-angle converter. And it's really great because it's got a lot of surface area, and that allows you to go above and below water really well, and it just makes the film look a lot better. And of course, the wide angle is really conducive for underwater shooting especially. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about time-lapse shooting, which is one of the really cool things about the TG-6. As you can see here, you have a lot of control over your time-lapse shooting. You can tell it what type of file you would like to output, and then when you finish making your selections here, you can tell how long the film is going to be. So that's actually really cool. I'm going to show you some examples that I shot with the TG-5 here. Again, you just set the camera up anywhere. You can put it on a tripod, but some of these I just set it on the balcony of a hotel or something like that, or a beanbag. You can just set the parameters, press the shutter button, and walk away. And when you come back, you'll have this really cool time-lapse film. So if you get the TG-6, make sure and play with time-lapse. Okay, so we're going to wrap up today by talking about the entire TG ecosystem. There are a lot of accessories that you can get to make your TG experience really cool, and we've been able to use most of these in our field tests. Let's see. So In order to use any of these products, you'll need this adapter ring, and with that, you can use the LG1 light guide. This allows you to illuminate close subjects with a constant light. It is not waterproof. It's the only one of these things that's not waterproof, so this is more for a macro type situation. The FD1, the flash diffuser, is waterproof, and this allows you to light macro shots but not overwhelm them, including underwater, which is really cool. One of my favorites is the T-Con 1. This is 1.7x and is great for not only portraits but also wildlife shooting, and it is waterproof, of course. The F-Con 1 0.74x gives you sort of a classic wide-angle field of view, great not only for photography but also videography. A lot of the videos that I did with the TG-5 were shot with this teleconverter. I have not used the F-Con 2. This is a circular fisheye 0.3x, and I look forward to actually trying this little guy out. We'll screw this guy in here on here while we're talking. So as you can see, they just screw on like that, and then you've got a waterproof fisheye shooting situation, or tele, or classic wide angle. Okay, so that's a quick look at the new Olympus TG-6, and thanks to everyone for watching today.